Hi, everybody. Here we go. Welcome to the Body Love broadcast. I am so excited. My name is Deb Yager, and I'm so excited to have Colette Davenport, a mentor of mine, someone that I absolutely adore, that I look up to because she is incredible, the work that she does. So the episode is called Soul Level Healing and how to know when you're healed, even when your body tells you otherwise. And let me introduce you properly. So Colette, she is the founder of Badass Empath Empire. So basically, her purpose is to inspire empaths, coaches, light workers, entrepreneurs, visionaries to come out of hiding, to give them the tools to be successful in business and do what their soul's purpose is, their mission of why they're here, and she gives them all the strategies for success. Did I say that right?
Yeah, girl, you got it.
All right. And she is also an author of a book called Getting Your Magic Back, which is incredible. I haven't read it yet, but it's putting on my to-do list to read. And I'm just super honored to have you on. I have been following your work ever since the day I met you. Everything that is about you, I love and adore. So I'm so grateful to have you on.
Very affirming. Thank you for that. I also look up to you and what you're up to, and I'm more than honored to be here sitting next to you on your broadcast having this conversation. It's going to be great.
Yes, I am so ready to dive in. So tell me a little bit, what inspired your story and like how you got into what you're doing, and also like what is your most important thing that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I got into what I'm doing because I follow my heart's desire. I am very curious by nature, and I'm super smart too. So the combination of heart, curiosity, and intelligence for me have culminated in being able to take the thing that I find most interesting and turn it into something that not only helps other people, it sustains a lifestyle for me. In other words, it's a business. This philosophy of, discovering who we are and what we're here to do, and specifically who we're meant to serve or to lead with our life's experience, I find fascinating. And so being on that path my entire life, in other words, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 8. And had to figure some shit out, right? I don't have formal business training. Sure, I've hired business coaches and other people to help me fast track some stuff rather than getting, like, for instance, a 4-year degree or an MBA, which much respect. The academic path was not for me. The hands-on, real world, in the trenches path has been for me because I find it most stimulating and satisfying to learn as I go. And so learning as I go, then also offering that wisdom, insight, and information to others as I discover it to help them fast track, coming out of hiding, as I like to say, because my fellow empaths and I have been told our whole lives that we're too much, we're too emotional, we're too all the things, right? And so we tend to hide out in a safe bubble. And I say, fuck that. We're not meant to hide out and protect ourselves. We are actually born with this heightened emotional sensitivity so that we can understand on a deeper level what's happening for other people and offer assistance, guidance, mentorship, coaching, whatever it is, whatever the vehicle is, doesn't matter. It could be Reiki, it could be massage, it could be transformational coaching, it could be NLP and performance coaching. And our ability to sense what not all people can sense is an asset that helps us do great work in this transformational space. So what I'm up to and what I find most interesting right now is helping my fellow coaches, healers, and visionaries come out of hiding, step on, like, in center stage, own your uniqueness, and use it to help facilitate the transformation of humanity in whatever way excites you most.
So well said. In fact, the first time that I ever met Colette was at a networking event, and it was interesting the way that you presented yourself. You're saying, I help. Even I think you used the word sex worker, and then something around like get their magic back. I like do breakthrough coaching, but whatever it was, it stuck with me, of course, because my own personal history of being in escorting and sex working. And something that you said too triggered a response in me that I never even knew, because I was never even really aware of like doing NLP, but we don't use the empath terminology. Yeah. We just know that we have a heightened sense of emotions and we can sense emotions around us, but I never made the correlation, because growing up, I was always highly emotional. I was always feeling negative emotions. I was always feeling insecure, fear, anger, frustration. And a lot of it, I'm sure, had to do with my own stuff that I was producing. At the same time, I think there was a lot of other stuff that I was feeling. Yeah. And so that's why I was so drawn to substances, to numb myself, because I felt literally like I could not be in my own skin ever. Yeah. I felt like the only time that I felt like I could be inside my body was when I was high. And so I made that connection for the very first time. And I was like, holy fuck, like that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. By meeting you and you being honest and like sharing a little bit about your story. And so I just think that's so powerful, because I feel like there's so many people that don't know this, and they feel alone. They feel like literally there was times where I felt that I was getting mind hacked. Yeah. Even as an adult, like I felt like I didn't have control over my own mind. And a lot of times I didn't, because I didn't really know how to run my mind. Right. And at the same time, there was also other things that were coming in that I felt like I was getting hijacked. So talk a little bit about that. Yeah, I think that is very common when we aren't masterful with this sensitivity that we have, and we haven't learned how to differentiate between what's ours and what's not. A lot of times it does feel very overwhelming emotionally, mentally, physically. We feel like sickness in our bodies that aren't ours, that doesn't originate from us. And so part of what I'm up to is helping people really truly master their emotions. That's the tagline of the book, Get Your Magic Back, emotional mastery for empaths. You guys, when we master our sensitivity, we no longer need to protect ourselves from anything external, other people's shit, the chaos of the world, the culture that we live in, the EMFs. We actually don't need to protect ourselves from any of this. And we can retain that level of sensitivity without being permeable to the things that don't serve us. Now, that again takes mastery. But when we're able to do that, I'm telling you, girl, it is fucking liberating. And once we get turned on to that level, then we can get to work serving others, leading others. And this kind of brings up an idea for me that there with all due respect, there are a lot of well-meaning healers and even coaches and counselors out in the world that don't have that level of mastery, self-mastery, and therefore are showing up with the perception that what they're doing is healing other people or helping to fix what's broken. And that idea that anything that any one of us is broken is the fundamental flaw that keeps that person and oneself in the seat rather of victim. And that's the shit we have got to transform. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the presupposition that if anybody is broken is ridiculous, because they are perfect, not whatever perfection is, but their unconscious mind, their higher self, their body is absolutely perfection for what they are here to do. Yeah. And it's just that in coaching, at least in our philosophy, we're only showing them what they already know. We're just waking them up and giving them the tools to have access to it, to be able to sift through the things and to integrate it and become whole as a person. But they're already whole. They're already perfection. Yeah. There's nothing broken. Yeah. Even the mess that we have, like the trauma that we've chosen, in my opinion, to attract in our life for meaning and purpose, kind of like we were talking about earlier, is perfection in itself. Yeah. And then when we have the meaning behind it, that is the true mission.
Yeah.
So tell me about that, like how you help people transform their stories and turning it into, and I'm probably botching this, but turning it into the gift that they share with the world, and then monetizing it, and how that starts from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, you bet. So there's something called that I created. It probably existed before me, who knows? But this wasn't taught to me, so I'm going to call it I created it. And it's a soul wound technology. And this soul wound is something that you and I and every one of you, every other human on the planet has. And it's at its most basic and universal form, it's I'm not good enough, right? And so you and I and every other person on the planet is walking around with that deep-seated belief that sometimes surfaces, sometimes more than others, for some of us, it surfaces and causes chaos. And so that soul wound, while it sounds really bad, like, oh my God, I'm not good enough, that's bad, right? No, it's actually great, because it is, if we see it this way, if we choose to face it head on, it can become the catalyst for our spiritual evolution. And it's not as simple as going, well, if I'm not good enough, how is that, taking it from there? So in my understanding, the soul wound technology that I use, it's about uncovering the very specific, very acute, very punch in the gut feeling of your unique soul wound. So there's the universal, not good enough, and then there's the individual, specific, acute, feels like you got punched in the gut, you're like drowning in tears. That's how you know you've landed on your soul wound. And then from there, with this level of awareness, this belief that you've been harboring your whole life, not that there's anyone to blame, right? Because this is a good thing, but I'll just give you an example. So for me, my soul wound is the statement, I'm an ugly, disgusting waste of time. How about that? When I landed on that, I was like, oh, it hurts so bad. But now it's out. It's no longer hiding in the shadows, secretly dictating my actions and my patterns and my beliefs and behaviors that I was acting out again and again. So yes, the sensitivity and the needing to not feel so much, or needing to not know so much, because we know shit, right? Yeah. We know shit that nobody else knows. Yes, that and this soul wound thing at work. So that's a double whammy for us empaths. It's not only are we sensitive to energy, emotion, and unseen information, we also have a soul wound because we're human.
Yeah.
And so when the two of those get together, it's like, fuck, man, gotta do the damn drugs.
Yes.
Gotta numb it out a little bit somehow. And then maybe we stay on that path, and unfortunately, we might end up in dire straits. Or we could choose to look and stop, drop, and roll. What the fuck is going on here? How can I support myself? How can I heal myself? And then if we are so called, and I believe a lot of us are, when we go through crisis and we go through, real hard times and heartbreak and health situations, when we overcome them, a lot of times we're called to help others. And so then the soul wound thing is, this technology really supports us being masterful of our own well-being and emotional state, and being able to support other people. Yeah. And specifically by, as you stated, seeing other people as whole and complete, and then offering resources. I like to say that we are beacons of light that light the path. Right? People are walking their own path, but we can be a beacon of light beside them, helping to light that path that can be oftentimes very treacherous.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely not the easy way. This is not for everyone, but for those of us who heed the call and step forward and say yes, man, it's delightful. It's delicious. It's so satisfying to know our purpose. I'll just speak for myself, to know my purpose, and to wake up every day clear about who I am, what I'm here to do, and who I'm here to do that with. That is freedom for me.
Fuck yeah, it's freedom. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
My soul wound was, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm never going to amount to anything. I'm disgusting. And I might as well punish myself. So unconsciously I would attract every scenario to punish myself. Yep. And I got addicted also to the pain and the dysfunction of it all, which was like self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, exactly. And I'm so grateful. And it was also passed down genealogically. Like I speak to my mom. I mean, we have a great relationship and talking about the same type of thoughts. It's passed down in our DNA, but then it's also at a soul level, many, many lifetimes of this shit, you know, that we are here to wake up and transmute and transform as our soul is growing into becoming more of a container of light. It's just, it's that the whole thing fascinates me. And I love that you're doing this work, giving people the skills, giving them the guidance to really be successful. Cause that's how we are going to make, you were saying earlier that you're going to have this empathic a row of soldiers of like these incredible light workers that are out there transforming and waking people up to the possibility and happiness and this juiciness of every single moment on this planet. This journey that we've chosen to experience is incredible. Should you choose to see it that way. And if you have the right technology and if you have the right mentor and the right leader in your life to where then you become the mentor leader.
Yes, that's the goal of Badass Empath, is to help empaths become the badass that we were born to be, which looks like leadership and owning your 1 square inch of the market that you choose to play in, market being, you know, business, right? So shifting, my focus used to be on intimacy and relationships, working with empaths and having really healthy, satisfying love relationships and sex lives, and coming from being, you know, the background as a call girl as well, and really wanting to see healing and transformation happen for people in that arena. And then I realized that there's something even greater. There's something on an exponential scale waiting to be tapped into. And so going from working with individuals and couples to now working with entrepreneurs, visionaries, healers, coaches who are making an impact, an exponential impact on their, you know, their people. So it's awesome.
The not good enough shows up, and I'm so glad that we're talking about this because it shows up in the, like with the Body Love broadcast. I mean, people will either, and I find this not, it's a generalization, but most individuals, not all, though they have this complex in some area, whether it be with the mental, like mine was for, I'm not good enough mentally. I also was not good enough physically. On the outside shell, I had this beautiful body, beautiful face. At the same time, I could only see the wrong. I literally would get so specific in what we call an NLP chunk down to the very last detail, tiny, minute things. And then I would literally pick myself apart, compare myself to other people, compare myself to what I should be, what I should look like. And so the good enough pattern shows up in pretty much all aspects, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that and like how you and your own personal journey has overcome any of that in terms of physical appearance, mental, emotional, spiritual.
I think the most obvious thing is the physical, right? So I have this tumor, which is benign, and it is enmeshed within the nerve tissue that goes from my spinal, my brainstem to my tongue. I laugh because I'm a speaker, like of course, it's all like self-expression, throat chakra stuff. But so prior to this, I've always been outgoing. I've always been this sort of bubbly personality. I was a party girl in my 20s, you know.
No.
But like, and all the while, like you, struggling with self-confidence, like hating myself at times, and fucking drowning in drugs and alcohol and self-loathing, and just struggling, even though on the outside there, like, you see this bubbly, beautiful person, harboring a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and a lot of like low vibes inside this container. So of course, I got a teacher. Of course, universe is like, we got to show you something about yourself. Come here. Let me show you something. And then this situation happened. And at first it was like, whew, spiraling out or down, as I like to say, into the dark hole of suck, and hiding myself and hating myself even more and taking it out on the people closest to me, and just like eruptions of anger. And man, it was not a happy time. And then I realized, and it was actually, I'll tell you a specific point in time where I like came to Jesus and recognized my friend Lumpy here as a gift and not a punishment for all my sins. So
I could see how you could have gotten really I would have gotten really out of control with that. Like, oh, it's a fucking punishment for all the shit that I did, all the nasty things I said, or all the things I put in my mouth, all the things, or all the things I didn't say. Like,
all of that, girl. Yeah. And and then, and before I get to like the turning point, what I attempted to do early on was fix, there's that word, what was wrong with me. Like, I was so angry and trying to fix it, and none of it was working. All these alternative therapies and working with shamans and, you know, fucking radical diets and all of the supplements and all of this stuff that I do believe can reverse conditions effectively. But not if we're coming from this place of self-fucking hate and fix what's wrong with me because my life is over if I continue to live like this. No. So from a psychological, mental, and emotional place, I had to get over that. And it did not happen quickly, but thank God it did happen. And I was able to sort of learn who I really am, learn what I have control over. And we'll get to that in a second. But what got me out of the dark hole of suck and on this new trajectory, this new path of real healing, not fixing what was wrong with me, but truly healing the deep soul wound, the emotional, psychological, spiritual wound that I truly do believe my physical symptom here is just an eruption of, you know, that root core pain that I was not addressing for 30 years. And so the turning point then was one day when I was at HEB and I was in the spice aisle at the grocery store, and this really hot dude comes around the corner and starts walking up the aisle, and the old bubbly party girl me would have been like, hi. Seriously, like making eye contact, making a joke, flirting, totally flirting. But that day I like turned my head and I'm like hiding myself. Like, I don't want him to see me because I had hated how I looked. I hated what I saw in the mirror. And I was so ashamed, and it felt like the worst thing possible for people to look at me and see what I saw. So I turned away from that attractive man. Instead of making contact and having a nice little moment of hi, I turned away and I walked out of that spice aisle with tears in my eyes. And when I got home, I realized that it wasn't even a realization. It was like, this like thing came over me, and I was like, I cannot keep hiding myself. I cannot keep living like this. This is not who I am. This is fucking miserable. And I don't know how to get out of it. I just know I can't keep doing this. And so that was the moment that I vowed to never be ashamed of being different, of looking how I look, of whatever gifts have been bestowed on me. I couldn't quite say it that way then, but I recognize that's the truth now. And so that was the pivotal point in this going from harboring, self-hate and shame and embarrassment to really starting to recognize the beauty, the perfection, the gifts, and waking the fuck up. that was the moment that I began to wake the fuck up. And by that, I mean love, unconditionally love myself. And again, that didn't happen overnight, but it certainly has occurred, and it's a beautiful place to be today.
It's so fucking amazing and beautiful. I mean, I think about all of the times, and I've spoken to a lot of people too that struggle with just body dysmorphia, or ashamed of the way that they look, their face, their nose, their ears, their feet, their toes, whatever. And like how in my own personal journey of like how I wouldn't go places, I wouldn't go to the gym if I felt fat because I was ashamed, like people would know that I gained weight, or I wouldn't go on the boat, or I wouldn't do this opportunity because I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. And for that type of thing, like having that moment where you're like, fuck this, I'm not going to stop my life because of a certain thing. And for you to have this, I think it's beautiful. Like I was telling her earlier, like I'm in love with her lump. Like I would lick her lump. It's so gorgeous.
Well, you better get all the lump you can get because it's going away. The teacher has taught.
Yes,
I mean, that's a story for another
the healing.
Day.
Well, and that's even kind of what we're talking about. It's like healing, knowing that you're already healed, even though if your body doesn't show that yet. And that's something that you help women do. I think it's incredible. And it's like for us to go through these experiences so then we can find self-love, essentially. Is at the end of the day, it's about going through what you ever need to in your own personal journey in order to find that moment of saying, I'm not fucking doing this anymore. I love myself more. So,
and I think that's ultimately the journey of our spirit and soul. Like that's why we're here. Like these bodies and stuff are real fun. Like life is fun, work is fun, sex is fun. There's a lot of stuff that's fun that we get to do in these human body experiences. But ultimately, I suspect what we're actually here to do is journey through this thing back home, like journey through life back to the truth of who we are. And when we get there, and if we can get there while we're, enjoying this physical body at the same time. Like, seriously. Oh my God, life is good. And no matter what we look like, no matter what's going on, no matter what the conditions of our lives are, if we recognize who we are and are satisfied and loving and also available for more, for what's next, I think that's how we win the lottery. I think that's how we win the game of life. So I'm winning.
I agree. Because it's all this shit is illusion, folks. Like it's like based upon how you perceive it. Like it literally is an illusion. You can choose to love and adore this juicy experience that we're having, even the painful moments, even though they feel real in the moment. It's how you perceive it. And it's like, and it's hard to say that when you have a lump on your neck, or if you're overweight, or whatever your thing is. It's hard to say that, but it really truly is that. At the end of the day, all of it is in your mind. This is all this movie that we're playing, and we have a choice whether or not to tune in to the happiness, the gratitude, acceptance, the self-love, the purpose.
Yeah, and I think where we fuck ourselves is that when we think that when we have a leaner body, or the perfect partner, or 10 grand in the bank savings account, or when we have something, then we'll be happy. Then we can like be in love with ourselves and our lives. And it's actually the opposite. So the whole point of this broadcast is talking about how to know that you're healed, even if your body or your bank account or whatever evidence or condition is unwanted says otherwise. How to know that you are perfect, healed, whole, complete, majestic. I don't know where that word came from, but it came from someplace. How to know despite the evidence to the contrary. And that is when you can look in the mirror and love what you see and not need it to be any different. When you can look yourself straight up in the eyeballs and love it as it is in this moment, not needing anything or anyone or any condition or any scenario to change for you to love who you see looking back at you. When you're there, you're good. And then
you can create.
Conditions can change. They cannot change if you are hating, frustrated, wanting it to be different. Like, there's a difference between satisfaction and love with what is and available for what's next versus wanting, needing things to change in order to be satisfied or feel love. So you guys understand the distinction there, right? Like, I'm not saying don't want more. Want more. You're meant to want more. You're meant to expand and desire. You'll never not have desires. And the desire paired with your satisfaction and love, unconditional love for yourself as you are now, is the key to creating, as Deb said, whatever it is that you want. So if it's, a leaner, stronger body, if it's more money in the bank, if it's, starting your own business, whatever it is, it has to come from love and unconditional love. Unconditional, meaning this love is not based on a condition. So that for me was a transformative understanding that has informed my entire life. And it's I'm so glad that I got it. I'm so glad that I got it. And that I get to share it with other people, because if you can't tell by how passionate my voice is, it's a turn on for me. It's so exciting.
And the wisdom that just comes out of your vocal cords, whether it be speaking at your truth or writing your truth. She's an incredible copywriter too, is one of the things that I adore many things about you, but you're great at copy too. So she's just like such a creator, and the way that she can explain these things is, I think it's one of your gifts. And it's interesting how, of course, it shows up on the tongue, and like how metaphorically, like, it's so funny because the first time I met you and I saw that, I was like, holy shit, she's the only person. Because I think it was back in 2001, I was in a very abusive relationship. In fact, later then I got choked out by that individual. But before that, I would never speak what I wanted to, because it was also fear-based. And I was also getting a lot out of it. Besides a point, I had this tremendous salivary gland infection to where I had for about a month, didn't have any neck because it swelled up so bad. And so that was another like connection thing. And just, it's incredible how our body will create symptomology based upon the story that's playing out in our world. Like our bodies are in these credible things, and it's communicating a message, and we're not listening to it a lot of times. So I love everything that you're doing. So, okay. So tell me a little bit more, like how, specifically can people in the moment when they're going through these things, like how can they change it like that?
Yeah. So for me, there's two parts to this, to shifting from, feeling out of control or feeling, like sick to your stomach because of something that may have happened or something that you are experiencing, to feeling sort of in control and good. And so the two parts are this: it's mind your vibration and master your attention. So vibration is another way of saying energy. It's another way of relating to our emotions, our feelings. And if we can mind our feelings, while we can't control our emotions, don't try to control your emotions. You can't do that, just like you can't control the weather. These things happen. They're part of being human. They'll come up, sometimes one right after the other. Sometimes they linger and they create a mood. But you're not meant to control your emotions. You're meant to feel your emotions and become aware of, like, get really well versed, because that's what emotional intelligence is. Get really well versed in what the emotions are. What am I feeling right now? Am I feeling fear? Am I feeling anger? Like something happens? Listen, we get triggered all the fucking time. That's called life. And
we're emotional beings.
Right. And so in this soul wound technology, the process that I take people through is when we get triggered, don't put your attention on the thing that happened. Like, your partner who's giving you shit for not taking out the trash or whatever, like you could get really upset about that. You could get triggered by that, but that's not where to put your focus. Put the focus on what you're feeling. So if you're feeling guilty, or if you're feeling angry, or whatever the fuck it is that you're feeling, put your attention there. There's where the power lies. If you put your attention on the thing that someone did or didn't do, or somewhat traffic, like none of that shit's in our control. But what we can like tune ourselves to is the feeling that we have. And that's like a beautiful first step. So if something happens, I'll just use an experience from my life to illustrate this. I saw something, I'm not gonna get specific. I saw something a couple of weeks ago that felt like a punch in the gut to me. It was something I did not want to see. And instantly my mind, here's where master your attention comes in, the second part of this puzzle. I felt like I got punched in the gut. I immediately like had the knot in my throat. My heart started beating fast. I was in bed. I was like, great, now I'm not going to be able to go to sleep. Like I felt sick to my stomach. And it was sadness. I felt grief. I felt my soul wound got triggered, that I'm an ugly, disgusting waste of time. So that got triggered.
Wow.
And I had the opportunity in that moment to go, well, do I want to spend this night restless and awake and feeling like shit? Or the answer is no, by the way. Or do I want to soothe myself and get myself to a place of feeling good so I can sleep and move on with life? And that was what I chose. So when I saw the thing that I saw that was unwanted, and I instantly had thoughts about it, because that's what we do, right? We instantly connect and make meaning out of situations, but we're always making up that meaning. Like she said, all of life and all of reality is an illusion. It's all based on our perception of things. So I was perceiving that thing one way, and I have the ability to recognize this. This is the tool. This is the soul wound technology, you guys. Yay, I get to use my tools. And so instead of making up the story and letting my soul wound sort of dictate to me how I was going to feel for the rest of the night, I chose a different story. And I made up this story that actually brought a smile to my face. So sending love and really getting excited for what I saw, instead of feeling defeated by it, instead of feeling like a loser and discarded, I decided I want to feel good, and the way to feel good is to think about how good it must feel for this other person. And so that calmed the anxiety in my body. It allowed me to focus on a feeling that I wanted to feel. I literally got a smile on my face, felt love in my heart instead of the punch in the gut. And that grief that I felt turned to acceptance, and then it rose all the way up to love. And holy shit balls, I cannot believe that in the span of about 4 or 5 minutes, I went from feeling real fucking low to fine. And not just fine, but like radiating love out into the world, into this other person. And I was able to fall asleep, wake up the next day feeling great, no attachments, no stories, no spinning out around any of it, totally free, totally free. So those two things: mind your vibration, notice what you're feeling. If it's a feeling you don't want to have, well, get in communication with your thoughts then, because your thoughts are made up, and you get to, if they're thoughts that aren't feeling so good, choose some other fucking thoughts, make up some other reality, make up some other stories. They're all stories, they're all illusions anyway. And then once you have this new story, the one that feels good, well, there comes the feelings. And then what do you have actual control over? You have control over your experience. So we can't control our emotions, but we can control our experience by minding the vibration and mastering our attention.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how, in the moment, literally just a few minutes, and it might take longer if you're not practiced, and if you need more specifics, I wrote an article on this, I wrote a book on this, but I'll send you an article if you want that. Just make a comment below and I'll make sure that you get the 4 steps to get yourself through that when you feel shut down or confronted or like you got punched in the gut and you don't want to hang out there, you don't want to let it ruin your night or your day or your life. Then these 4 steps can help you move to a higher vibrational state. You might not go from grief to love that rapidly in the beginning, but you can get yourself to neutral. You can get yourself out of the dark hole of suck and into a place that is okay. And then from there, you can start to creep up the ladder, get yourself to love, get yourself to joy, get yourself to being that beacon of light that we all are, that we are here to be. And you can control your experience and create how you want life to go. That is in your control. And that's a pretty cool thing to be able to do.
It's freedom.
It's fucking freedom.
It is. It's
Absolutely.
Total freedom of no matter what situation or your environment is reflecting you back, it allows you to have the freedom. And once you have your emotions, I mean, once you understand your emotions and know how to train your attention, as you're saying, and we talk about this too in the NLP, is like where your focus goes will dictate how you feel. Mm-hmm. You know, like anxiety, according what we believe, is anxiety is a warning sign that you're focusing on what you don't want. And so your unconscious mind's like, it makes you feel all anxious. And of course you're going to feel like shit if you're continue to choose to focus on the thoughts that are creating a movie in your mind of what you don't want, because it's creating disaster. And your unconscious mind is listening to that, which creates the behavior that creates more disaster. And so it's like a feedback
and disease in the body,
disease,
right?
Right. And so even if your body, like, and I remember in the beginning of the journey, after first learning about these tools, I still had really trained myself to be scarcity, shit's hitting the fan, everything is negative, everything is bad all the time. So I literally trained myself very similarly to what you're saying, but just in a different way, to every time I would have a negative thought, I would write down to what do I want instead? And then like I would practice that mantra over and over again. I literally filled out like 5 journals in one day. It was incredible because I was really fucking trained to focus on all the darkness. Yeah. And then over time, and then of course with the soul technology that you're talking about, being able to go back in the past and heal those wounds, the trauma, to let go of it and find meaning and purpose and the why behind the story, because your past, your struggles, it is the gift that you have that will allow you to step into your power and to become the mentor, the leader, the light, like we were talking about. I like envision the hermit, but you know, the archetype of the hermit, but like in a feminine way, then man or woman, you know, shining the lantern for people that are walking their own path, just like we were talking about earlier. Yeah. And I love that you're doing this specifically for empaths, because there's not really that much information out there yet about like navigating through your own stuff. Yeah. And also, what are you feeling from others? So can you share anything about that?
Yeah. So to your point, the stance that I take, the very strong stance that I take, goes against what most popular teachings for empaths. So the majority of books that have been written by well-meaning guides are about protecting ourselves from energy vampires and things of that nature. And I call bullshit. We're not born to walk on eggshells and be weary of being sucked dry or impacted negatively by our environment or the people in it. Fuck that.
It sounds terrible. It's like another prison.
I mean, hi, you want to just sit in the seat of victim and like, no. And I get some people need that step need to protect themselves as a step on their path to being badass, or empowered, as a lot of people say. But for those who are done trying to protect themselves and are past this conversation about absorbing all the energy and unable to, be in crowds or in a crowded restaurant. I've been there, by the way. So I'm not speaking from like theory. I'm speaking from experience of having been the person who could not handle crowds without being drunk, by the way. That was the way to handle the crowds. Yeah. But to your question, what was the question?
What is a way for them to understand? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to ask is like, what is them going down that rabbit hole of their own movie created by self, or what is going on? How do you differentiate between other people's energy and your own energy? And does it even matter?
No, it doesn't. Okay. So that's why I was having a hard time answering the question, because here's
this is my speculation.
Yeah. So here's the answer to that. And that's where I started out. It's contrary to most teachings and understandings, and that's cool. I mean, that's what gives me this like center stage ability, because what I'm bringing is some new information. I'm sure it existed before me, but here I am speaking about it, so whatever. So the way that I understand it, and certainly in my experience, is this: when we learn to mind our vibration and master our attention, when we become masterful of and understand who we are, what we're here to do, and who we're here to serve or to lead or to contribute to, when we get that, all of this other useless information falls by the wayside. In other words, we do not need to put effort towards navigating other people's energy. We don't have to protect ourselves or, shield ourselves or filter through the information in our bodies and minds. In other words, we are aligned, and therefore we're only available for what's ours. And everybody else's stuff remains theirs, because we no longer have this belief that we're here to heal others or fix it for them. We no longer take responsibility for anything that's not ours. And we do take responsibility for what is ours. And what is ours is this gift, this light, this potential that is waiting to be harnessed, that is waiting to be brought to life and expressed and exposed and shared. And when we get busy doing that work, all the other stuff, everybody else's crap that used to like bombard us, it just isn't there anymore. So we're mistakenly putting our energy and our efforts towards things that are out of alignment. In other words, we're worried about other people and other stuff instead of the light inside of ourselves, instead of being and becoming who we are here to be. So focus, like you said, focus on who you are, what you're here to do, and the people that you're meant to lead. That's a beautiful trifecta. It's the sweet spot. And from law of attraction perspective, everything you need to be super satisfied and live in a good life reveals itself to you. And everything that's not that, you don't see it anymore. You don't feel it anymore.
I agree.
You don't worry about it anymore. You're not bothered. That is how you become a badass empath.
And it's a choice whether to put yourself in situations too that there's a whole bunch of fucked up energy anyways. Mm-hmm. And I feel like too, in my own personal journey, now that I've done so much work and I know who I am and I know like what I stand for, I know my boundaries, I love myself inside out. I can sense other people's emotions, but then I'm like, bye.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, it doesn't take over me. And of course, is again, like it takes progression to be able to get to that place in your life where you know who you are. Yeah. And it takes work. And of course, working with you and doing all the things that you're saying is like, that's where you get to that place. And then you can then, like, let's say if for us with our graduates, when we're in a coaching situation, you can dip into other people's energy to get information, to get like to have compassion, but then you don't stay there. Like I can feel the emotion, but I don't allow myself, because there's nothing to be creative and problem solve from that point of view is not helpful at that point. It's like having compassion, but choosing not to have that put onto you.
Yeah. And I think it's important too, and you do this, I do this, my hopefully fellow coaches and healers are doing this, but getting permission. So here's when and where we get to use this extrasensory perception, these spidey sense in our gift, right? Is with permission. People are hiring us to get an edge on their understanding of themselves. And so when we have permission to do that, we can use that all day long. But it doesn't, so I'll speak from a past experience. When I was a massage therapist and a Reiki healer and like meditation guide, like I just was showing up with this sensitivity and wanting to help people feel better about themselves, you know, at minimum, but using this gift without specific permission, A, without any boundaries, B, and really trying to fix what was wrong, because I thought that if I could help them, then I was valuable, I was worthy.
I'm so glad you said that. It's so important for people to hear.
And that is not mastery.
No.
In fact, that is the opposite.
Scarcity. It's
that
needing something
absolutely
outside yourself in order to give yourself purpose.
Yeah.
Then it's counterproductive.
Yeah. And it just drains you. You guys know that you feel, if you feel drained at the end of the day or doing the work that you're doing, it's because you're not masterful of this gift that you have. You don't know who you are. You don't know who you're here to help. So in other words, you're letting all people in, not just those that are aligned, that are seeking your medicine. And so they're sucking your energy out of you. And that's why the books have been written for the energy vampires, is because you're not clear about who you are, what you're here to do, and who you're here to help. So get clear about that and watch the fucking magic happen.
Yeah. When you get clear that clients, you don't need clients, they need you. And when you take your power back, it shifts everything, especially charging what you're worth. Like, again, like there's a lot of people that say, you know, charge your worth and all these things, but truly understanding the value that you bring and not chasing down people to change their lives, because you don't want clients that want it. And that will drain the fuck out of you. And it's also enabling them in their problem. And so, yeah, like that makes total sense. Okay, good. Like you answered a lot of questions, because I had an intuition, but I never like was able to articulate it, and like that just solidifies everything.
Yeah. And it's easy to see how it's misunderstood out in the world, right? Because most of the world is living in this scarcity mentality and protection and not enough, and I'm not good enough. And so of course, you know, the common understanding is about protecting yourself, when really it's about coming out, not staying in, not staying hidden, but coming out, whether you're an empath or not. Coming out is owning who you are, standing up and standing in the light that you are, the perfection that you are, the badass that you are, and only being available for that which is aligned with who you are, and letting, encouraging everything else to go take a fucking hike. And that's freedom, and that's liberation, and it's the magic and the miracles and the satisfaction and the abundance and the joy and the prosperity and the opportunities for business or love or friendships, or it doesn't matter. It's where the good life is, you guys. So get in it.
Yeah. And enjoy the naysayers, because those ones are like the most character building, like amazing opportunities for you to even reinforce your solidity and yourself and who you are.
Totally. Yeah.
If I could give anyone a gift of inspiration, it's like, get out there and have something so controversial, so real, so yourself, that you have fucking haters.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're doing something. Of course, without purposefully going and like doing something to piss people off, but just being yourself.
Yeah. Unapologetically you, because when we do that, we absolutely polarize. People will love it
Mm-hmm.
or they will hate it. And either way, don't get attached.
No.
Just keep doing you.
It's an awesome opportunity to just be more in love with who you are.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, I'm in love with you. So tell the listeners like how they can get a hold of you, what's up next for you. Like you were sharing some juicy details about like what you're offering this year, like how to work with you. I would love for everybody to understand like what it is that you do and how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so the way I work with people is I've got two offerings. One is a group marketing program, which we'll talk about here in a second. The other one is a deeper dive year-long mentorship, which I'm really excited about because that's where I get to teach you everything I know, from how to channel source, how to coach effectively, how to build a business around your unique gift, how to heal yourself, or as I like to say, three things that the promise of the Badass Empath mentorship is: heal yourself, help others, and make six figures.
Ooh,
how cool is that?
Love it.
But the group marketing program, which is coming up real soon, and you might hear something from Deb, a special offer for you guys, for her friends and listeners. This group marketing program is really about learning who your people are, and that's by knowing who you are, and why you might want to go into business as an empath, a coach, or healer. Like, what is your core why? And if we don't have that, we're gonna be spinning a lot of wheels and a lot of money and a lot of time trying to fucking connect to people. But when you know who you are, who you're meant to serve, and why, like I said, you get into that sweet spot. And so this group marketing program is about that: who you are, who you're meant to serve, and why. And then creating a signature program that I like to call our medicine, your unique medicine, and then effectively marketing that so that the people who are seeking your medicine right now can actually find you, and you can do the work that you're here to do. And when those three things line up, business is a beautiful thing. It's not a hustle. We are not grinding. We're actually in a state of grace and flow. And what flows to us is our ideal clients, the opportunities to share our medicine, and a whole heck of a lot of money when it's done right. So that's the marketing program that's coming up. And we can put links to that.
I already have it up in there too, but
you've got it there. Okay, good.
And then also, if you're on my email list, then I'm going to be sending it out as well. She has, and you're having a masterclass come up, right?
Yes, Friday. I'm actually teaching a free masterclass. So at least join me for that. The title of the class is How to Stand Out from the Crowd of Coaches and Healers.
Ooh, that's a great
and attract your ideal clients. So yeah, it's about differentiating yourself, because listen, there are a sea of health coaches, there is a sea of Reiki practitioners, and great, thank God this world needs us more than ever. And from a marketing perspective, we need to be able to differentiate ourselves to attract the people that we're meant to serve. So this free class is really going to talk about that: differentiating yourself, setting yourself apart, owning your gift, and attracting your tribe.
Yep. I love that you're doing that, because it's so true. There's so many coaches and there's so many light workers. There's so many, it's almost like as many financial advisors and real estate agents these days. And it's fabulous because that means that the market bears what you have to offer. It's just figuring out, like she said, and she's going to help you in this masterclass, figure out what your unique offer is, like who you're meant to be working, why you're here on this planet to be working. And helping and serving people. Everybody has their unique proposition, essentially, of why they're here, in my opinion.
Yes. So, super excited about that.
So, yes. So the link is that in the link in the,
we'll get it there.
We can put it there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll make sure you guys get the link that you need to join that class on Friday, if you wish.
Yes. When is it on Friday?
It's Friday at noon Central Time.
Noon Central Time. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I want to watch it, but we're going to be in Africa.
Yeah, you're going to be in Africa. It's fine. You can miss this one because you'll be in Africa.
I really, really want to see it though. So is there anything else going on?
Oh, what else is going on? I would say focus on that. Let's get the foundation built. I really do believe, Deb, that this is the foundation of building 6- and 7-figure businesses. Is knowing who you are, what you are uniquely designed to do, and who your people are. And if you get those three, like the trifecta, the 3 legs of the stool, then you can build whatever you want from there. But if you don't have those, and take my word for it, because I've spent more than a decade trying to figure it all out, and pivoting here, and then, well, maybe it's over here, and how many times have you guys, I probably have a dozen business cards with different taglines and
Right.
like all of these things. And here's what I'll say to this: when I made the discovery that my people are empaths, and I was doing intimacy and relationship coaching and teaching tantra, and so my website had all of that branding on it and all of those offerings, tantric retreats for couples, all this stuff. And when I made the pivot to recognizing my people are empaths, so who I'm here to serve, people like me, empaths, and then started, so empaths were starting to come to me asking me, how do I use this gift to help others? Okay, so then my business started turning more towards business coaching. Never would have thought that, you guys. Never would have thought that, because I don't have business expertise. I have been in business, so I've learned, but I never thought I would be coaching coaches on how to build and establish businesses. But that was what was being asked of me. That was the call that I was responding to. And so over the last 2 years, roughly, maybe about 2 years, I had a website that said, intimacy expert Colette Davenport, tantric retreat for couples, and I was teaching marketing to coaches. Okay, so I make this point because it doesn't fucking matter how sexy your website is if you don't know who your people are, what you're uniquely designed to help them do, and are speaking about that, you won't get traction in your business. Yeah. So it's not dependent on what your website looks like. It's dependent on you knowing who your people are. So over the last 2 years, even with my branding being off, I quadrupled my income.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And now, everything, I'm like, oh, maybe it's time to focus. Like I've transitioned. Now you'll see a mentorship and a marketing group program on my website. Yes, but I didn't quadruple my income because my website was badass. Okay. It actually would have been contrary. It was contrary. And so how was I getting clients? That might be a good question to ask. By speaking, sharing what I know, writing about it, posting about it on my social media, just having conversations with my friends who are like, oh my God, can you tell my people about that? Like, broadcasts, podcasts, other, Facebook Lives and stuff like that. Because the passion that comes out when we're crystal clear about who we are. I know I've said this a bazillion times, who we are, what we're up to, and who we're meant to serve. You can't not feel that and express that. And from there, it's kind of a no-brainer. People
are magnetically drawn to you.
That's right. That's right.
Every word that you speak, energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it lights them up neurologically in them and activates their soul.
Yeah. And
then they're just automatically drawn. It's like a moth to the flame.
Yeah. 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 Which is why I feel it's so important to get this
crystal clear.
Crystal clear.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is like if you message to everyone, you message to no one. And so that's why I really want, I'm going to be happy in Africa. And I highly recommend everyone to get on this masterclass. So
yeah. Friday at noon.
Yes.
I'll put a link. Yes. You guys will see it.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. Well, thank you so much. And so what is the last thing that you would like to say to any of the listeners, anyone out there that is, just in the whole arena of their soul's mission, self-love, anything?
Yeah.
What's the last words of wisdom?
Yeah, let me check in. Hang on. The journey never ends. So as much as we can get well-versed and practice with the tools that you share, that I share, that other brilliant people share, the journey never ends. The best I believe that we can hope for is shrinking the gap from the breakdown or the pain the punch in the gut when you see somebody with somebody, to the breakthrough, which is where you get yourself back to neutral or potentially even love, unconditional love for yourself, for other people, for the condition of your body or your life or whatever it is. So the journey never ends, but we can get good at using our tools and get ourselves back to center, back home pretty quickly. And that, I think, is success.
Well said.
So get your ass some tools.
Yeah.
We got some. Ask us. We got tools.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And this has been an incredible journey. And I would love to have you back on because there's some other questions that I would just love to riff with you. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for everybody for listening. Please check out her webinar on Friday. Or not a webinar, it's a masterclass on Friday. It's going to be incredible. And there's links up there. If you're interested in connecting with her, please do. She's an incredible woman. And she will help transform your life. Well, you'll transform your life, but she'll guide you through it. So I appreciate you and I love you all. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like our content and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button below. We'll be posting videos every single week.
And if you want to learn more about NLP or a certification program or even performance coaching, come join us on our website at yagertraining.com, and you can find the link in the description below. We hope to see you on the next video. Thank you.